And with that, I'm happily handing over to our next presenter, that is Artem Kondratskyi, who has joined Nanion recently. Artem is a biophysicist, an ion channel guy, doing ion channel work for more than 15 years. And that's not only that, he's also a data analyst. That is something very helpful. You will see in his presentation why that is great. And some of you may also know Artem. He has been doing the Ion Channel Library, a really great website, very resourceful. And yeah, I'm very glad you joined our team also in 23. So, Artem.
Hi everyone, really happy to be here today. I should tell you that I'm based in France, and every time I come to Nanion, I really enjoy my time being here in this epicenter of electrophysiology. And I hope that you have the same positive emotions as I do every time. And this presentation actually, I think, was designed to serve as maybe like an appetizer before the main dish, which is scientific talks and demonstrations. So, everything very, very, very cool. So in any way, shouldn't induce any brain fatigue in you. So let's start. And so I'll be talking a bit about ion channels in general, ion channel research. We'll show you some quite simple analysis. And we'll start with ion channel research and its place in biomedical research globally. So nowadays there's about 36 million citations in PubMed, and if we take all these citations that are related to ion channels, we'll get something about 1%, 1.3%. So we can say that ion channel research, it's quite a small field. It's quite a small area of research. However, if we look at these numbers, we should say that ion channel field is not at all tiny. We produce more than 13,000 ion channel papers a year. These papers are published in more than 1,000 different journals, and a lot of huge amount of people actually co-author produce these papers. In 2022 alone, we had 67,000 people that managed to be co-authors of at least one ion channel paper, and 5,000 people are real ion channel aficionados. They publish every year something about ion channels. We have also quite a lot of different companies that are interested in ion channels, and most of them are working towards developing ion channel drugs, because ion channels are known to be very interesting drug targets. And nowadays we have more than 170 drugs on the market. So ion channel field is not at all tiny, not a small field actually, and it continues to grow. We see that from this simple graph, PubMed by year, number of publications by year. So number of publications is growing, but what got our attention is that part to the right. We don't see a lot of publications actually here for quite a long period of time. So we got into it a little bit, and we found out that there was actually a time when there was no such thing as ion channel, and that time was until actually 1955, when Alan Hodgkin and Richard Keynes were first to publish this proposal that potassium ions they cross the membrane coordinately through channels. And it means that the concept of ion channels is quite recent. When Watson and Crick they discovered the double helix, they had no idea about ion channels. And Queen Elizabeth, also during her coronation ceremony, was aware about ion channels. And sadly enough, the known hit of Elvis Presley, "That's All Right, Mama," is not about ion channels. Having said that, I should say that all the scientists that were working on this subject in kind of pre-ion channel area, they contributed a lot, and their discoveries are great. And it just they didn't use the term ion channel in their work. That's it. So that's why we put it in this pre-ion channel era. And so this publication by Alan Hodgkin and Richard Kenneth kind of started a new ion channel era when people started really working on ion channels. And if we look at it, it was a great success. A lot of super cool discoveries on this way. And what I would like to pay your attention at is that at the beginning, really, if you were a scientist who wanted to study ion channels, you had to be very good at electronics and physics, to build all this equipment and to understand how to work with it and so on. But somewhere here at 84, when the first sodium channel was cloned, the door to ion channel field was opened for molecular biologists, so many people rushed in. And also a little bit later, people started, so there was a biophysics period, then the cloning period started in ion channel era, and then people started to understand that actually dysfunctions in ion channel could lead to disease, and this channelopathies and interest in ion channel drug discovery started, and we see it also corresponds to patents. Before this, there were not a lot things happen in this patent area. And finally, in 98, the first crystal structure was published for an ion channel, and we entered the structure period. So, and new people rushed into this era. So now we have a whole lot of many different people with different backgrounds in this field. And all these people, they really come from many different countries of the world. More than 170 countries are represented in affiliations in ion channel publications. And countries that contribute the most to ion channel research are shown there, and the US is obvious leader here. If we take the whole amount of data available for the moment, but it really depends how to look at it, and I suggest you to look at this. This is year by year statistics, how many publications, ion channel publications, has been produced by each country, and we see someone is growing and growing and growing, and suddenly China became the leader in 2022 in terms of number of produced ion channel publications. But here I should tell you that this analysis is based on affiliations, and we know that many scientists, they like to put their alma mater or some institutions into the affiliation. So it doesn't mean that it's really produced by China, but it's Chinese researchers, people that associate themselves with China. So all these people from all these different countries, they obviously work not alone, but in labs and groups. And we estimated that there is about 5K different ion channel groups, not labs. I mean, one lab can contain different groups, a lot, like several groups. And some of these labs and groups you can see at ion channel library, but the more realistic picture would look something like this. And we clearly see 3 centers of ion channel research in the world. And to conclude, to finish the presentation, I wanted to show you some statistics on what people are working on now since 2018. So we see that most publications are talking about calcium. There is a focus, also a little bit focus on voltage-gated ion channels than Leiden-gated. And if we take a look on big families, ion channel families, so the most popular, the families that got more attention from scientists are strip channels, iGlurs, and calcium channels. But if we look more in detail, we see that CFTR and TRPV1 are the obvious leaders in terms of number of publications and attention from people nowadays. But this information, I'm talking about this information is static. So how many publications are devoted to that or that channel? But we wanted to see a little bit more dynamics. Which channels are growing? Which channels show more the most are most interesting for people now? So we estimated the overall growth of ion channel field is about 10%, and then we found channels that show bigger growth, and these channels are represented here. We limited this analysis to only two channels that had at least 50 publications during that period. So what we found out, these are most kind of interesting channels for the moment from scientists. And this is attention from scientists. So we see that the most attention goes to piezo1, VDAC1, piezo2, TRPM2, and the most rapidly growing channels is EMAM 175, IP3 receptor type 3, and piezo1. What's interesting here is that half of these channels, the most rapidly growing, are intracellular ion channels, and 5 of them, so 1/3, are actually lysosomal channels. So this shows that scientific community is quite interested in studying intracellular and more specifically lysosomal ion channels at the moment. And at Nine Technology, as you've seen in presentation by Nils, we work hard to make it possible for you to do your experiments in a high throughput way and study your channels of interest. And I think that will be the last message from me for today. This is the part of analysis that we did. If you are interested in another part, please come to another user meeting next time. Thank you.